What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Get a Grip Sports Football. Today we are going to be starting off a series of fantasy football advice, position by position, starting with quarterbacks. Now, to judge quarterbacks, you have to look at their completion percentage, their interception rate, and their top receivers that they will be throwing to. Let's hop right in with the do not draft list. Now, the do not draft list only consists of 3 quarterbacks, and we have to start it off with the worst starting quarterback in the NFL. That's going to be Drew Lock. He had a completion percentage of only 57.3%, one of the top 5 worst of the starting quarterbacks in the league. He led the league in interceptions despite missing multiple games due to an injury, and Courtland Sutton is his best wide receiver. All of that mixed together just results in not a lot of room to grow and not really a lot of room to improve when he's throwing to Courtland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy, and both of those, Courtland Sutton coming off of an injury and Jerry Jeudy who can't seem to catch the balls as well as he used to be able to. Next up we have Daniel Jones. Now, he did improve a little bit from his rookie season, although his completion percentage was still 62.5%. He is very inconsistent, and his number 1 wide receiver is Kenny Golladay, which is a huge upgrade from last year being Sterling Shepard or another not very impressive wide receiver. I do think that Daniel Jones, with another weapon, will be set up for success if the Giants decide to keep him around for the 2022 season. Last week, Matt Ryan probably would not be on this list. However, the Julio Jones trade just went through, and he's no longer a fantasy option. It's really not okay if you draft him, even to be a backup for your starter. I would go as far as drafting Zach Wilson over him, who's a quarterback for the Jets. He's going to Calvin Ridley, and it's not just that he doesn't have Julio Jones. His old age has become a factor. He's very inconsistent, and he's horrible at closing out games. You saw that last season. They blowed so many leads. And it's not just the defense's fault, it's not just the special teams' fault, it is Matt Ryan's fault. He needs to take some responsibility and step up next season and remember how to close out games. Now, number 10 on the you probably should draft these players list is Ryan Tannehill. He had a completion percentage of 65.5%, which is extremely well. He's over the elite mark of 65%. He only threw 7 interceptions, which is only 1 more than Patrick Mahomes did. And now, compared with A.J. Brown, now he has Julio Jones. Ryan Tannehill is set up for a wonderful season, and I think he will be able to live up to the potential that the Tennessee Titans have this season. Number 9 on the list is Jalen Hurts. In his limited amount of starts, he didn't necessarily stand out. He didn't have a phenomenal games in the final few games that he did end up playing. However, the only reason he's on this list is because of his dual threat attack. He is very lethal on the ground, and he has a very powerful arm. Doesn't have the best wide receivers around him. However, Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert are very talented tight ends, and they are very good targets to have. And my only concern for him is a sophomore slump. I honestly don't see it happening. I'm not a huge fan of Jalen Hurts, and I don't think he's going to be an NFL starter for a very long time. However, for the present, he is going to have a good year his sophomore season. Now, next up on the list is Tom Brady. He threw for a not very Tom Brady standard 65.7% from the field. And honestly, I can see him improving on that. He has Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and the greatest wide receiver of all time, Antonio Brown, to throw to. Only concern is his old age. We'll see if it catches up with him. But coming off of a Super Bowl win, he has one of the best offensive linemen and one of the best wide receiver cores. I think Tom Brady is going to have a wonderful season and is going to score a lot of fantasy points through the air because he loves to throw deep balls. His deep ball percentage was one of the best he's ever had in his entire career. Very much room for improvement, and I think he will reach the full potential of the Buccaneers offense. This next one might surprise some people, but Justin Herbert, number 7 on the list, 66.6 throwing percentage last year, completion percentage, not throwing percentage. He has Keenan Allen to throw to, which he has gone more consistent over the years. His drop balls percentage has gone way down recently. And Justin Herbert, my only concern for him is the sophomore slump. He was probably the best rookie last season. Honestly, should have gotten the Offensive Rookie of the Year. Very much deserved, and I think he's going to have a great year. I think he can lead those Chargers to a potential wild card spot. There's no way they're beating out the Chiefs for the AFC West, but a wild card spot is definitely up for grabs and in the future of the Los Angeles Chargers. The next one is the Russell Wilson, and honestly, 68.8 completion percentage, second highest on this list to the number 2 quarterback on the list. DK Metcalf, I think I saw the big improvement to his sophomore year coming. I drafted him to my fantasy team last year. I honestly didn't see Russell Wilson doing crazy good. I did see Josh Allen doing crazy good. That's why I drafted him for my fantasy team too. But Russell Wilson is another dual threat because he doesn't have an offensive line. He's forced to scramble a lot, and he can scramble extremely well. And he doesn't scramble backwards, he scrambles forwards. Lots of rushing yards, lots of passing yards. The Seahawks are going to be a dangerous team, and Russell Wilson is going to be one of the top 5 or top 10 fantasy quarterbacks this year. Next up, we have Lamar Jackson, and he only threw 9 interceptions last year, which was an upgrade from his MVP season. But overall, he definitely went down in how good he was for his year after his MVP. He's still crazy good at running the ball, and he got a new weapon with Rashad Bateman in the draft. I'm just not convinced that Lamar Jackson will be the best quarterback in the league like he was in his MVP season. However, he's still so good, and he puts up so many fantasy points with his legs and with his arm. If Rashad Bateman turns out to be the player I think he is, then the Ravens are going to be dangerous, and Lamar Jackson is going to be a phenomenal fantasy quarterback. The number 4 player on this list is Dak Prescott. 65.1 completion percentage in 2019. I'm not going to count 2020 because of his ankle injury. That's another concern. He's coming off of a huge injury. Just signed a huge contract, so I believe that his confidence from the Cowboys is up, and his confidence in himself is up, which is very important to have as an NFL quarterback. And, he has Amari Cooper to throw to. He's set up for success. Ezekiel Elliott's another offensive weapon on the ground to take some pressure off of Dak Prescott. But fantasy-wise, Dak Prescott is a hit or miss. He's either going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL and is going to put up crazy, fantastic fantasy football numbers, or he's going to be really disappointing, possibly get another injury, and just overall not have a good season and end up get dropped by a lot of fantasy owners. I'm leaning towards the more points. I think it's like a 90-10% chance that he has a good season, 90% being the good part, and I just don't see him getting injured again. I think he's going to have a lot of pressure taken off him with the offensive line upgrades that they got, and I think the Cowboys are going to have a really good season. Making it into the top 3 is Kyler Murray. He had a phenomenal season last year, 67.2% completion percentage, which is among some of the best in the league. DeAndre Hopkins is his best number 1 target. Very good deep ball threat, and Kyler Murray has been extremely accurate, a big upgrade from his rookie season. I think Kyler Murray has potential to be an MVP candidate, if not win the MVP. And, he's also very, very dangerous on the ground, so it's impossible to guard him or contain him. I think Kyler Murray is set up for success. Lots of fantasy points. I think he's the quarterback I would take for my quarterback when inevitably Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen get taken in the 1st and 2nd round. Never draft a quarterback in the 1st or 2nd round unless it's Patrick Mahomes. I would not do that because, I can't stand any Chiefs players. But Kyler Murray is the one exception to a player I'd take in the quarterback I'd take in the first 4 rounds. The runner-up on this list is going to be Josh Allen. He had the highest completion percentage, 69.2%. Honestly, a huge breakout season. I personally was not expecting Josh Allen to be this good. Even before the season, I had him as a quarterback that could potentially get replaced by either Justin Fields or Trevor Lawrence. He proved me wrong, leading the Bills to an AFC Championship game while putting up huge numbers. I added him in Week 2 during fantasy football because I saw him putting up those huge numbers. And it's because of Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs is a huge key part. He's a wide receiver I would draft in my fantasy league draft. And I think Josh Allen has huge potential. He's very young, and he's still improving. Josh Allen is definitely an MVP candidate last season. I think he's going to continue to be one this season, and he could be the key to your fantasy team by putting up well over 30 points a game. Number 1, I think we all saw it coming. The best player in the NFL currently, Patrick Mahomes, 66.3% completion percentage. That would be a lot higher if he didn't take some risky deep balls to Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. And speaking of those two, those are some of the best receivers in the business. Patrick Mahomes, I don't see any downfall for this year. I think he's he's easily the best quarterback in the draft. He only threw 6 interceptions last season, which is incredible. His completion percentage is over the elite level. I think he honestly is going to put up over 40 points per game for fantasy, of course, not an NFL game. But as long as he doesn't blow up his knee scrambling around, I think Mahomes has potential to win the MVP along with a Super Bowl title. As always, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe down below. Comment down below who you are going to be drafting as your fantasy football quarterback. And one more thing I'd like to add on at the end. Please visit my website. We're trying to build that thing up. We've added a newsletter, which you can click on. There will be a link to my website. And once you get to the website, along the header will say, subscribe to our newsletter. It's completely free, wonderful content. I would definitely ask you guys to check it out, and I'll see you guys next time.